CIA. They administered LSD to an elephant at the San Diego Zoo called Tusco. The theory is alcohol disrupts what's called memory consolidation.
Okay.
So the ability to just keep recalling stuff that happens sort of passively as time goes on. Yeah, trying to describe the universe as purely science is like trying to describe Mozart as pressure waves, just in terms of pressure waves and sound. Yeah, you are like, oh, that's interesting.
What, does it not look good at all? You're saying it doesn't look good?
No, it looks terrifying.
Yeah, okay.
You look like, I don't know, you look just something.
Who do I look like?
I can't put my finger on it, but you look like the fucking old guy from Home Alone.
My hair is going to go this colour as well because I'm ginger.
Yeah, it will.
It goes, and that's probably the only thing as a ginger benefiting you. Later in life, you do have better hair than everybody who's not ginger.
What, because it goes white?
Yeah, I mean, grey's fine, but I feel like white, you know, that whole like...
Is that just kind of baller?
Who was that guy from Cheaper by the Dozen?
I don't know, man.
The dad in that, he had like white hair.
Oh,
hot as fuck,
do you think
dude.
he was like a bit of a silver fox sort of thing?
Yeah, but then again, like, yeah, I wonder. Yeah. God, I look...
Look at it. It's actually terrifying.
I've actually been stiffed here. You should wear it. But I guess I'm the Santa of podcasts.
Yeah, podcast Santa.
Podcast Santa, yeah.
There you go.
Nah, how have you been recently, mate? You alright?
I'm sweet. I'm lovely and I actually can't say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, please cut that.
I'll bleep it. It's fine.
Okay. Nice. I'm lovely and then just blank.
We had a few drinks last night, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had a few drinks.
Yeah.
Very festive. Nah. So you've come up here. Thanks for coming on, mate.
No, don't worry.
What do you do? Like, just tell us a little bit about.
What do I do?
What do you do with your life, mate?
I do bitches.
Man. You do bitches.
That's
okay.
Me. I like all over.
Like
you know?
how many? Probably
solid one.
So,
she's all my bitches in one.
Okay.
You know?
So she identifies as multiple people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've told her this multiple times.
Oh, okay.
And she agrees with me. Yeah.
I think this is a good time to say welcome everybody to episode 12 of the Ed Squared podcast. We are in Christmas gear.
Yeah.
And we got Joe Mason on today.
This is so podcast.
Joe will also make subtle digs at the podcast throughout it as well. Yeah. So, but we're fine with that and we move. Yeah. But no, we got Joe on. He's a guest I've been excited to talk to you about because I wouldn't go as far as to study a degree in it, but psychology, and that's something you study, right?
Yeah.
Is something I'm very much just asking you questions about. It's very selfish.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I just love asking questions. So yeah, we're gonna go into a little bit about that. But it's Christmas, man.
Yeah, is it December? Is it 2nd or 3rd?
Right now, yeah, the day we're recording.
Of recording is this.
Yeah, we're recording this
on
on the 3rd. Wait, yeah, it's the 3rd or 2nd.
The 2nd, yeah,
the 2nd,
yeah. This is definitely the 2nd of December.
Yeah. No. But do you think I'm rocking this? I've got like a little Santa hat.
It's so skewed. Can I fix it?
Well, yeah, fix it. What needs is it?
Just a little bit off center. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So for any of the audio listeners, I've got a little Santa hat, but a beard as well. This is the first time. I don't know if I could deal with a beard because I'm so warm.
Really?
Is this what people with beards have to deal with?
I don't know if it's that insulating. Maybe it's more insulating. I don't know. We're I don't know about your beard growing abilities.
Yeah.
I started puberty about a year ago.
Right.
So
sure.
My ability to grow a beard is not up there. It's not up there.
I mean, you got the height from puberty, but just none of the hair.
Yeah, I got some of the height. That's kind of work, but the sort of hair in places where I want it to be, not a thing. Like if I grow out a beard, it'd look like the Somme. It's just like this awful patchwork quilt of just nothingness.
I mean, yeah, that's true of me as well. All the hair that I want to grow on my face just never grows, but everywhere else I'm really hairy, and that is annoying.
Yeah, I know.
I kind of wish, there's some sort of drug which can target hair growth in a certain area. That would be so cool.
There probably is.
There probably
is. I don't know, yeah, you see drugs them fucking slimline pills. Where it's take one pill and this will destroy all your weight. And it's just and in the EU and to an extent the UK, because we've still got sort of the layover of EU laws still here. is it's really difficult to make claims like that, so you don't see them as much in the UK.
Oh,
But
really?
in the US, like you can just like as long as the drug doesn't kill you, you can say it does whatever you want it to,
Oh.
and it's so strange. So that's why you see like penis enlargement pills in the US, because you can say, "Hi, this will make you a fucking like tripod,"
Right.
and it clearly doesn't. But you can advertise that in the US. It's so interesting, you know.
Yeah, and we see that with a lot of food as well. So like ingredients and stuff. I saw like I think it was like one of like not Vice, but they compare like fast food here compared to America, and just the amount of ingredients.
Oh my god,
and the
yeah.
amount of substituted like flavorings and things like that is
Yeah,
insane.
since like the 1940s, when they were just like, there's a lot of people on this planet, we got to figure out how to feed all of them. There was this such like probably over the past 100 years, but more so in the past like 60 years, like all of the chains to like make food have become like so intertwined. Like how many? I'm just gonna have you guess. How many ingredients do you think are in like a McDonald's hamburger? Because they're so like all the ingredients are so intertwined that there's
Yeah.
so many chains that you can't break. Like trying to change how the food industry makes processed food would be impossible because you've got to target so many chains.
Right.
So how
When you
many
say a chain, what do you say? What
like
do you
a
mean?
chain of production. So like here's the thing we grow or produce
Okay.
to being
Oh, right, the chain of
the
production.
meal, the chain
Okay.
of production. So how many ingredients do you think are in like a McDonald's quarter pounder?
Right, I remember seeing like a video on it that I'm gonna say there's at least like 30. There's at least 30 ingredients.
260.
What the fuck?
Yeah, man.
Because and also I think the thing is if we don't like know what something is as well, so a lot of these names will be like ridiculously long. Like is it Latin? I don't know. Like some like scientific word.
What do you mean by like a
Like
Latin thing?
glucosinaminotate, or you know,
Oh, what like chemical compounds?
chemical. Oh, the
Like,
chemical compounds.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, because these chemical compounds, and because we don't know what they are, and we can't like envision what that is. Do you think people are more like, oh, it's all right? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know.
Like if there was shit on the ingredients, people would be like, let's not eat this.
Yeah, but
You know?
honestly, that's a really good question. I think there's sort of two avenues you can go down, and there's two sort of theories, but both of them sort of contradict each other.
Okay.
But it's all the chemical compounds. You know what I mean? It's just all the fucking chemicals.
Sound like Alex Jones.
Yeah,
they made the frogs gay.
Turn the fucking frogs gay. But I just got spit all over your mic. But yeah, there's sort of, I guess there's two ways you can sort of look at it. As there's, if you see like chemicals, people are going to be turned off because they don't know what it looks like, and people just see chemical compound and it's like, ooh, scary, that could be cyanide.
Yeah.
Or like cyanide's also a chemical, this is a chemical, because the average layperson knows like jack shit, you know.
Exactly.
Or people are so desensitized to just seeing like chemicals and names of stuff they don't know that are just like just weird food preservatives and stuff like that, or sweeteners or artificial flavor, like that sort of stuff. That's all that those are. And people will just look at that and they're so desensitized to it, they're just like, yeah, I'll just fucking eat it. And they see the price, and the price is not that much, so it's like cost of living crisis, can't afford to eat, I'll eat the weird stuff.
It's weird though. Yeah. Well, in these times, especially we're in a cost of living crisis here in the UK. I can't really say about the rest of the world. Maybe you know, but going down to Mackey's and getting McDonald's and getting like a £1 fucking cheeseburger, that seems so much easier right now.
It's not £1 anymore, is it?
Is it not? I think they still do 99p.
I don't know if it's 99p still.
Oh shit.
I swear I saw
maybe a
McDonald's.
myth.
I have celiac disease, so I'm not going anywhere near a McDonald's. So I am not a reliable source on this.
Yeah. No, I think they still do it, and I think just because the amount they sell, they can still like manage to sell those things.
Have you got a Mackey's breakfast on the way, by the way?
I haven't got a Mackey's breakfast. Oh, I wish I did, but I feel like it's really weird. You know, being with you for the past couple of days, I've been like realizing like what you have to go through with that, and just like different stuff. Yeah, it's mad. How is Christmas during that time with you not being able to eat gluten?
Christmas, I don't know. Like my mum's really really good at it. Like there's so many like products now so that you can make you can quite easily make a gluten-free Christmas. Like realistically, all you need to change are the Yorkshire puddings and check the pigs in blankets are gluten-free because they're sausages, and they're usually like bulked up with like breadcrumbs and that sort of thing, and then like gluten-free gravy granules or gluten-free flour to make a gravy, and that's all you really need to change. Whereas I could imagine there are other dietary things that would make it way harder, or you'd have to make a load more substitutions. Like I can imagine being like vegetarian or vegan. Christmas looks way more different than a gluten-free person's Christmas would.
Can you have stuffing? I love stuffing.
I have to get gluten-free stuffing.
Does it not?
Because stuffing is literally just like, that is just bread and veg. That is what stuffing is. So yeah, actually now I have to change stuffing, but you can get like gluten-free stuffing mix, and that's fine.
Yeah, man. Nah, I'm looking forward to Christmas. But it is quite bad. It's because I'm going back home, and first of all, I'm seeing my brother. I haven't seen him for a while, but like the amount my family drink at Christmas is probably like, if an average person stumbled across our house, you would probably think alcoholics. This is probably like me, my dad, and my brothers. Maybe not my sister, but it is kind of that's usually how we all approach Christmas, and it's I have fun, but at the same time, we all got really drunk last Christmas Eve, and my sister came in and she was like, Dad, weren't you meant to be like, he had a schedule of cooking, you know, because like you have to cook so much stuff. He wasn't even awake, and we all were just like, we woke up to her coming in, and we just had to apologize. Like it was bad to be
all asleep.
Well, we were all just like kind of waking up. It was like 11:30, and like, you know how Christmas is. Most people on that shit early.
Oh God, yeah. My mum's on it like, I don't know if it's early or late. Like I think it would be early for me now, and I can imagine now that I've grown up, I can imagine her hating it.
Right.
Like when I like, you know, like if you're a kid and you're like 8 or 9 and you're just excited to play with Legos and video games and that sort of thing, you wake your parents up at like 6:30, 7 on Christmas morning. They must want to fucking shoot you. Like now that I think about that, like I struggle to get out of bed for 9 now. Like if I've been like, say I'm in bed for like 11 or some shit, like 9 is like I've chilled for a little bit, I've had a brew, I can like get up now, and that's like such old man, but that's quite a nice time. Like I sleep generally from like 1 till 9. That's sort of my schedule. But I could imagine they just want to like shoot us getting up at 6:30.
Well, and I think they get that payback now, because like my sister definitely does that now. Like I've probably woken her up by playing like a load of video games late at night, but now she gets to wake me up. But it's only one day a year. You think about it. We have only got probably 60 Christmases left.
Oh
man.
My God. That's depressing.
It is, isn't it?
That's
I think Christmas is amazing. Like, I'm not like a religious person, but just everything involved in it, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Love
oh
it.
My God, that's just reminded me of like when, I don't know, when you were a kid. I don't know if this was just me and my like heightened addiction to video games.
Okay.
But I remember I used to, you know, it's like some TVs would have like the little like headphones, like you could plug in like earbuds, and I would try not to wake my parents up. When I got like the TV downstairs, I'd sneak downstairs, like turn my Xbox on really quietly, plug in my my like little earbuds that I got with like the shittiest like Android phone I had at that point, like sneak them into the side. I remember being deadly quiet, and then you turn down the volume all the way on the TV and it would only bring audio through the earbuds.
Oh, right.
And I'd be able to like sit and like play video games.
Was this on Christmas? Like
this is not necessarily on Christmas. Like this would be like a weekend sort of thing where I didn't have to get up for school, like a Saturday or Sunday morning. I don't know why that was so like fun, but I must have done that for like 3 years straight. Of just those were like Saturday and Sunday.
What were
morning.
the classics you used to play?
God, I was big into my Assassin's Creed. I was big into that.
What, from like 7 or 8? You were
not from like 7 or 8. Like I think probably about from age like 11 onwards. Now I think about it. So like say 10 to 14, 10 to 13, that sort of age. Like Assassin's Creed used to bang, Halo used to bang. Battlefield a little bit used to bang. But yeah, I don't know, not necessarily much more into video games now. I just do not have the time.
You know, we know the classic video games rot your brain.
Everyone says that.
Because I feel like there's very different opinions, and obviously the people, I've come from a background of playing a lot of video games when I'm younger. I want to believe that's not true. And I'm not expecting you to know this. I just wondered if you
Oh
knew anything.
no, I'd say there's like a load of different arguments, and I think all of them would have to be tested, or maybe they have been, and I'm just not aware of it. But there's sort of like there's the social aspect of the why that opinion is sort of prevalent is who do you think is associated with video games, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you think of the typical video game player, you think of like the typical Genshin Impact player. You know what I mean? Just some like just a slob, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
But then I think there's the argument of, well, video games are basically they're really, really engaging. They can be really good for like training problem solving. A lot of them would make really, really good sort of like working memory paradigms, if that makes sense. So like
Okay.
you could quite easily, and I was chatting to um my dissertation supervisor because my research is on memory,
Oh yeah.
and I was chatting to him briefly about like the use of video games, and he said, yeah, they're really, really like a lot of the time, obviously in not in excess. Like you wouldn't
Okay.
want to be doing them all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Everything in moderation. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So in moderation, they're really, really, really good at brain training because a lot of them they're very, very engaging. They're very good like problem solving. They're very
Mhm.
good for
Yeah.
memory. They're very good for figuring out storytelling. They're very good
Mm.
for visual arts. Like there's such an amalgamation of all these different sort of art forms and engineering forms and that sort of stuff that make them pretty beneficial. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
But and I'd definitely say way more beneficial in comparison to TV in a lot of
Yeah.
instances. Because your typical TV show, you literally sat sort of like you could be in a coma and you'd
Mm.
be doing the exact same behavior
It's way
as
less
someone else who's
interactive.
watching who's watching TV. You know,
Mm.
so that's not to say that TV's inherently bad,
Mm.
but I think video games they're not that brain rotty thing that people like inherently that brain rotty thing that people think they are.
I think if we did compare it to TV, where we're at now in this kind of binge watch, right now we're in a binge watch era, so
Mm.
we've gone away from like classic TV. It is more like you are a less interactive viewer. You are sitting there. I mean, there are cases like it can be educational. Obviously, it depends what you watch. Like if you're watching documentaries, watching this kind of more educational. But most entertainment nowadays, which is popular,
Mm-hmm.
uh, this is just my opinion. I do think probably if you were playing video games, it doesn't like to the outside person look better, but it probably is better for your brain.
Yeah, I'd say better for your brain. Say if you watched, but I think that's in like excess. You'd only really see those effects.
Mm.
Like, say if you look, say if someone was playing video games for like 8 hours a day, so it's
Yeah,
quite a
yeah.
lot of video games. Um, as opposed to someone who watches television 8 hours a day,
Mm.
I would hedge my bets that the person who played video games would have a more healthy brain.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also wouldn't.
Unless they're playing like Roblox or some,
Yeah,
if they're like
yeah.
25 and
I
playing
think it would
Roblox.
depend on the video game. I think the video game would have to be sort of challenging. I guess like
Yeah,
you couldn't just sit around like playing fucking like Roller Coaster Tycoon like
yeah.
for 3 years straight and expect your brain to be good. That's exactly not what I'm saying. I think they'd have to be challenging to you, and they'd have to stay challenging, which would sort of mean every single time you play a video game, it gets harder.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to the gym, like you don't, I know I'm not exactly like the archetype of big gym lad.
Mate, I had to make the doors wider to when you came. I was like,
Yeah,
when I heard you were coming
my
through.
lats, yeah, they're just like, I'm just way too big, you know what I mean? But those sort of, you go to the gym and you lift heavier and heavier each time, but the workout stays relatively similar in intensity from the first time you went to the last time you go.
Okay.
Or, well, not the last time you go, but to the time you're still going. Because you get stronger, your brain gets better, you lift heavier weight, the challenges are harder, the brain puzzles are a bit. Yeah, so
Right.
I think there's an element of that should probably be applied to video games a bit more, but I don't know, it's such a moot point when it comes down to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and once again, like it's a new point because they've only been around for like 25, well, probably a bit longer
I
than
would say
that.
20. I'd say maybe 40 years.
Yeah, well,
like my dad had Pong.
Yeah,
in the
I forget.
70s.
Okay,
you know what
like
I mean?
the video games. Well, I was just talking when I grew up, but yeah, they've been around for a while. So that I was gonna move on to memory, not really memory, but when you were on about video games, it reminded me of chess, and I heard that there's actually a limitation, or a downfall of chess grandmasters when they get older. right? So when they reach the age of 40, apparently they just get worse, and that is objectively what happens. And maybe, and I just wondered, is that down to like memory? Is that something to do with our brain?
Well, memory starts to decline at age 25,
right?
Roughly. So we've got 5 more years of this good stuff.
Oh, mine's already downhill.
And then and then it's quite downhill. But so I think chess grandmasters, like, they would be using, like, they would be pushing the limits of their memory, and I think every chess player beforehand, they're all pushing the limits of sort of human, I guess, working memory. So the ability to sort of move stuff in space, that would be what's called sort of visuospatial working memory.
Yeah.
So the ability to sort of move stuff in space and imagine moving it in space. So you'd be moving the chess pieces around the board and predicting, like, okay, well, like that sort of stuff. There's a lot going on. There's a lot flying about in your head, and you'll only have the ability to do that for so long. And I think at 40, that's when you start to see like proper limits of your memory, and you can accurately measure a bit more of what's falling off. There are people who have memory drop-offs that are really, really rapid. You see people who have amnesia and that sort of stuff. People can acquire that from all sorts of places. People can get it from booze, like you were mentioning booze earlier, when it came to like your dad falling asleep with at Christmas. He probably couldn't remember much beforehand because alcohol disrupts. The theory is alcohol disrupts what's called memory consolidation.
Okay.
So the ability to just keep recalling stuff that happens sort of passively as time goes on.
Right.
And memory consolidation can be disrupted by doing other stuff, or by not enough neurotransmitter firing about in your brain, or the wrong neurotransmitter being pushed to fire about in your brain, which is why people can get memory problems on all sorts of drugs that are psychoactive. So from marijuana to like PCP, coke, anything like that, or even less subtle ones or more legal ones like antidepressants. People get memory problems.
Wow.
People can get memory problems from booze. Just punching your mic and that sort of stuff. But people can get really bad memory problems from things like booze. Like there's a patient called in the book The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, there's a guy called Jimmy G, and he was a sailor in the 1940s. He was in the army. Well, not in the army, in the Navy, in 1945. And he was in the Navy from then until 1963, when I've forgotten why he had to leave, but I think he was pushed out for whatever reason. And then he became an alcoholic and just started drinking and drinking and drinking, and got so tolerant to alcohol that this is why people get memory problems from alcohol. Is they get so tolerant to the feeling of being drunk that they have to drink such an insane amount to feel drunk.
Yeah.
But that amount of alcohol in their bodies also does the bad shit to them. That's what happened to Amy Winehouse, and that's what happens to divers when it comes to
Amy Wine. Maybe it was all
on. No. You can't diss the Queen of Camden, bro.
No. I'm just saying that it's relevant. Well, it's just appropriate that Anae had wine in it, and she did. What happened to her? Like,
well, she died from alcohol poisoning.
Right, and I'm not dissing. I'm just saying that maybe some people should have maybe seen that coming.
Maybe she did write a song about not wanting to go to rehab. To be fair, but to be fair, she was she was just bullied by the music industry to not go. Like she's such a tragic case, man. Like
no, I do. And when you say I'm Amy Winehouse, now you said that song, I recognize. Like yeah. And she also loved gingers. Well, she had a good lyric in there. I miss your ginger hair. And that
was a cover.
Oh, was that not even Amy Winehouse?
That was a cover of a song by the Zootons.
Oh, fair. Maybe. Yeah. Well, fuck her. No.
No, God.
no.
Poor Amy.
No.
But yeah, the like the amount of tolerance to alcohol that this guy Jimmy had built up, it like really, really, it got to one day in 1963 when he consumed so much alcohol that his mammillary bodies, which are sort of at the top of your brainstem, and they're used for recalling memory, they just got destroyed. Like the alcohol literally just rotted them in his brain. And there's a lot of symptoms of that.
What does that part of your brain do?
Well, they're used for recollection of memory. The only reason why we think they're used for recollection of memory is because when people don't have them, they can't recall shit.
Right.
So that's called like a lesion study. So you take healthy person who has all of their brain. You take someone who doesn't have a part of their brain, see what the control can do that the other person can't, and then you can infer that, okay, that part of the brain.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so he had his mammillary bodies, they were just completely destroyed, and that resulted in something called Korsakoff syndrome. Nowadays, you wouldn't necessarily use the word like Korsakoff. You'd be more in line to say sort of retrograde or anterograde amnesia, which are the two sort of aspects. And retrograde amnesia, I'm seeing if I can remember the right way around. Retrograde is when you revert back to a time when you can't you can remember, or you revert back and think that you're way younger than you are. You see this in a lot of Alzheimer's patients. They have really bad retrograde amnesia. You know, the stereotypical thing of they think they're like 30 and they're like, who are you, sort of thing. Like, I'm 30, I live here, I don't live, like they think they live at a previous address. That's retrograde amnesia. Whereas anterograde is the inability to form new memories.
I see.
Anterior meaning the front, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, so that would be the inability to form new memories. Jimmy had really bad anterograde and retrograde amnesia, which is why it's sort of called Korsakoff syndrome. But his was really, really bad. He thought that he was like, he couldn't remember anything for more than 30 seconds. The neurologist who examined him was having like a chat with him, left the room for a minute, and then walked back in. And then Jimmy was like, turned to him and was like, "Oh, hi, doc. What's up?" Like, just as if the conversation had started again. And he was a bit like, okay, this is strange, sort of thing. Like, imagine being the neurologist there. You'd be like, I don't know, I'd be shit scared. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the saddest is when you know that person and it's a loved one. I think that's when when you've seen them when their brain is working, and now you see the same person. And let's be honest, in some cases they don't seem like the same person.
Yeah,
and you see glimpses of that person.
Yeah.
What is going inside someone's brain when someone's got dementia, and then there's glimpses of them coming back, but then it goes.
That would be very, very difficult to say, because I think there'd be so many different causes. Like for Jimmy, for example, there were abilities for him to recall some stuff.
Yeah.
But it was kind of different. Like the way the neurologist described it, or describes it in the book, is that Jimmy was completely devoid of all sensical memory, all logic, all facts, all recollections of episodic and semantic memory, all stuff happening. So episodic meaning being able to recall episodes of stuff, so like events.
Okay.
And semantic meaning facts.
Okay.
You know? So like a good example would be semantic. The Eiffel Tower is in Paris. Episodic, remembering the time you went to the Eiffel Tower. You know. So he had the complete inability to recall those. He could recall a little bit of some stuff because he left the Navy in 1963, but he only drank himself into Korsakoff syndrome in 1972, I think.
Right.
So it took him a bit of time to sort of, lose all of that stuff, but it reverted him back to being 19 in 1945. I think he thought he was 19 or 20. Like, wow. Really, really, so like our age.
Yeah. So there's no happy ending to this.
Well, there is and there isn't. The neurologist was chatting with the nurses at one point. The neurologist called Oliver Sacks, and Sacks was chatting with one of the nurses and asked one of the nurses, "Do you think Jimmy has a soul?" You know?
Yeah.
It's like there's so much lost from him. There's nothing present about him. Do you think he has a soul? So yeah, he's lost his episodic and semantic, but that's only declarative memory. There's a lot of other stuff that goes underlying that he's still got.
Right. What are some of the things he could remember?
Well, one of the things that he could do is Jimmy was a devout Catholic. So he practiced, like, he did mass. So the nurse said to him, when Sacks asked the nurse, "Does he have a soul?" The nurse said, "Just watch him in the hospital chapel. Next time he goes, this Sunday, just watch him." So he could stay in the present. He couldn't stay in the present moment in some of these paradigms in the doctor's office, in these sort of tests, for more than 20, 30 seconds. For mass, he could hold himself for 10 minutes. He could do all of mass, and he wouldn't repeat himself. He wouldn't fuck up. He would just keep doing it. He could take communion. He could take Christ on his tongue. He could kneel. He could pray. He could do it all in a routine, and he wouldn't do it again. He could stay present in the emotional aspect of his life. He could stay present in Christ and in religion because that's a very emotional aspect.
And is that another part of our brain?
Yeah, that's not affected by the mammillary bodies that much. That's not present or not. So he's able to compensate for not remembering how to do mass with the feeling of how to do it.
Wow.
If that makes sense. Because that aspect of his brain, of his body, that's not been lost from the damage he did to his brain to cause Korsakoff's. He was still present, you know.
Can we ever lose that? Like, or will we? Or so it will be quite nice if you do say yes to this, because then we can always still be like human. You know, that emotional side of it as well. A show of being human. So, are you saying that we do have the ability to lose that? And is that when someone becomes like, you know, just brain dead? If you get what I mean.
I don't know what parts of the brain is responsible for that emotional response. Honestly, I'm trying to think. I'm guessing probably the limbic system, hypothalamus, hippocampus, that sort of those underlying the core brain.
Yeah.
Like if you were to look at a brain and the parts that are right in the dead center, that sort of it's some people call it the reptilian brain.
Oh, right.
The stuff that isn't part of the neocortex. You know, the big pink wrinkly bit.
Yeah.
And then you've got the dangly bit underneath.
Yeah.
It's called the cerebellum. And then you've got the midbrain, I guess you'd call it.
Is it pretty mid or like?
It's kind of mid.
Oh,
okay. I wouldn't say it's kind of mid, but those are the parts where if there is damage to there, you will see the most fuck up to a human.
Right.
Because there's so much that goes on there. That's the oldest, that's the part of the brain, I guess. That's the bit that's shared with the most species, you know, would be the hippocampus, would be the hypothalamus, would be those limbic areas that are right in the center of the brain. That I guess that would be where emotional responses would go through. And I think if you lose those, you don't just lose emotion. It's not like you can just cut one part of someone's brain out. It's like, all right, no more emotion for you. Goodbye. Like, you would lose emotion, but you probably also lose almost all of memory. You would just like, there would be so much stuff that would fuck up. Usually it would be memory, or that's probably the best one I could say. Usually it would be memory if you're fucking up with the limbic system, and then I guess you might lose emotion, but you wouldn't really be able to tell. Like, you can watch someone in mass, but there's no like, and as a Catholic practice mass, but you couldn't really test it and get a definitive this bit does emotion, because I think there's so much intertwined and involved.
The brain is so complicated, and
I think it sort of goes back to, and this is one thing that I'm tempted to push for, is it was a great quote by Einstein, and it's a great sort of point in a book I'm reading right now called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's the idea of looking at stuff completely scientifically or completely as cause and effect, completely trying to use that method, has its problems. Yeah, it's the best tool we've got now, but it still misses stuff.
Right.
And I think the idea of a sort of romantic way of looking at things, I guess, is what that's what what's it called? I'm trying to remember. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance talks about, and as well as Einstein, he talks about the idea of science is not going to explain everything.
Right.
His quote is, trying to describe the universe purely with science, and I'm paraphrasing here. Yeah, trying to describe the universe as purely science is like trying to describe Mozart as pressure waves, just in terms of pressure waves and sound.
Yeah.
It's like you get the picture, but you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with just trying to look at the brain as a series of circuits that result in stuff. Like, you'll get so far, but I think there's just something that you'll miss.
And is that something that maybe has made you interested in studying psychology, like in the first case, or like what made you want to study psychology? Was it anything to do with that?
I like writing, and that was the writiest subject that I did.
Oh, okay.
Like, I did biology, chemistry, and psychology at A level. I really enjoyed the content of biology, but I didn't like the format. I didn't like the way it was necessarily studied at university, and I sort of saw that psychology maybe held more options.
Oh, okay.
As well, like if I want to go into biology later, I could probably give that a go with psychology. I could just do some neuroscience and then study neuroscience, and that would be my biology satisfied. If I wanted to study literature, I could probably get away with it. If I want to just do writing or qualitative stuff, I can get away with it. So that's sort of why psychology appealed to me. It was very righty, and if I wanted to change later, I probably could.
I think we've discovered the human brain, and I've definitely learned a little bit more, mate. What if we kind of moved on to some? When I watch a lot of like nature documentaries and things like that, and I'm always fascinated by like behavior of animals.
Okay, yeah, like and how they've been studied. To me,
yeah, well, that's why. Well, I'll be walking down the street, I'll see a caterpillar, and it's doing that. Why is the caterpillar shagging a leaf? No, you don't. That's an example.
You're just like looking at nature, and it's like, you know what, you go caterpillar.
Well, you go caterpillar, and also, I want you to kind of maybe put the few of the dots together for me.
Well, sort of like well, I doubt a caterpillar would probably shag a leaf.
Right. It's probably trying to eat.
Might do. You never know. That's basically like in the like for a human, that'd be like shagging like a melon or something.
I know. Probably,
I know as well. Yeah, we both know the same human.
So don't count it out. The maybe. Caterpillar could have been trying to have it on.
Yeah.
But well, let's go into this.
Yeah, there's some weird animal experiments that have happened throughout the years. If that's sort of
what are the most like fascinating, almost interesting.
The most famous one would be Pavlov's dogs.
Okay.
I feel like you've heard of this.
Tell me about it.
Really? Okay. Pavlov in 1927, I think it was. He was a Russian dude, and he sort of he was just studying animals for whatever reason, but he clocked that when it was feeding time, the sort of his assistant would be wearing really, really big, heavy shoes, and they'd be walking down the concrete corridor, and it would make like some really loud sort of stomping noises. And she would clock that whenever the dogs would do this, she'd be carrying a bucket of like chum for them to eat. After days of doing that, after weeks of doing that, the dogs would start to know just from the sound of that, and they'd start barking just when they heard that, because they think that food was coming. So he was like, wonder if I can do this in other ways. So he took some of the dogs, and he wanted to see if he could trigger saliva being generated, because they'd start dribbling whenever food was near, just from like sounds.
Right.
So what he'd do is he'd pair like showing the dogs food, presenting food to the dogs with another noise. He started off with a metronome.
Right.
So do you know what a metronome is? Yeah, sort of like the
yeah,
one of them. And he would pair a metronome. He would start a metronome playing, and then he would open a curtain in front of the dog, and then there would be food.
Oh, right.
And then the dog would eat the food while listening to the metronome, and then the metronome stopped. But so he trained the dogs for days of doing that, and then it got to the point where he could just play a metronome in front of the dogs, and then they start dribbling.
Right.
And he had to do like an operation on them beforehand, because he wanted to measure like accurately the amount of dribbling.
Right.
So he literally did an operation on them to like attach a vial to the side of the dogs' mouths. So Pavlov's dogs were just like a bunch of just random dogs in Petrograd with, well, not Petrograd, Leningrad at that time, with sort of a just test tube on the side.
Whereabouts in the world is that?
This is in Russia.
Russia, okay.
In the 20s, and so this is communist Russia in the 20s, and this is Leningrad. I think it would be called Leningrad then. It's called Petrograd now. City in the north of Russia.
Oh, okay.
And in World War II, so a few years later, Pavlov kept doing experiments with dogs until like the 30s. And there was a siege in Leningrad, and everyone ran out of food, so the dogs got eaten.
The experiment didn't happen.
So if anyone wonders what happened to Pavlov's dogs, they got eaten.
Oh,
but
hell.
that was called classical conditioning. And I'm sure you can maybe have instances of that having happened in your life. Like that happens in humans as well.
Well, the scene it reminded me of is in the US office. He I think he makes a click with his pen, or it's basically the same thing, but he does it on Dwight.
Yeah, and he conditions Dwight. Yeah. That's Pavlovian conditioning, or called classical conditioning.
Exactly. It's so funny, but yeah, that made me think of that. Is there any way? Do we see any of that in modern day, where we see like us using that for good?
I think you see it all the time, all the time. Like I think you hear your text noise, or you feel your phone vibrate, and you're conditioned to grab it, that sort of stuff. I wouldn't know if that's like a classical condition, because it's sort of like pairing stimuli together is classical conditioning. But you might be able to take, say, there's one person who you associate with messaging you on a certain app, and each app gives their own notification. Like me and my girlfriend, we normally, we've still, since we met, we only seem to talk through Instagram DMs.
Okay.
Don't know why. We've just not been bothered to change.
I think you use Instagram DMs a lot though.
I do.
You DM me, so that might be you.
Yeah. So that might be. No, to be fair, I use text way more.
Fair.
You and or Snapchat. You and Cassandra, the only people who I DM, way more.
Okay, I feel special now that it's just me and it goes your girlfriend, then me. I feel quite special to be there.
You're at least number 2, man.
Yeah,
you're definitely there. But say I now have I've clocked that whenever I hear the Instagram DM noise, it immediately makes me think of her.
Yeah.
So, and that's I don't know. There's something quite cool about that, you know.
Yeah.
I associate this noise with her, and it's like, oh my god, I can then talk to her.
Yeah.
But so I think it's quite cool in that regard. But the instance that it makes me think of, the second I learned about Pavlov's dogs in A level, I was like, oh my god, this is exactly what it makes me think of. Is we would do long drives, because my extended family, they live pretty far away in Kent,
right?
And on a really, really long drive down there, just after the service stations, sometimes mum would buy us a bag of sweets or something.
Okay.
And this kept happening so often that whenever, or on just car journeys in general, that whenever I'd hear the rustle of a packet, it immediately made me go
yeah.
Because I'd be sat behind her, and it made me go
yeah.
So you just immediately jump to attention. I'm sure anyone can think of sort of Pavlovian instances, you know.
So it's a thing we don't know is most people don't think when in that moment we don't know it's happening, but these things happen more than we think.
Yeah, or way more. There's so much stuff that we found on animals that is so interesting, and just the idea of social facilitation or degradation. And this, I was honestly reading the paper, I was crying laughing, because it's so stupid, all the stuff that happens in it. But
what's one of the stupid things that's in this paper?
This guy, basically, social facilitation is the idea that the more people that are around us while we're doing something, we get better at it, you know?
Right.
And the more people who are around us, but this sort of goes two ways. The more people that are around us at something we're good at and well practiced at, we get way better at it. Some people who are around us at something we're bad at, we get way worse at it.
Right.
That's sort of social facilitation and degradation. You see that in humans, but you see social facilitation in other animals as well. Okay. You see it in cockroaches, and this is the paper that I was giggling to myself at while I was reading it. Some guy built a sprinting stadium. I've forgotten the name of the guy. I'll tell you it if you want to flash it on screen there or something. Okay. But or the name of the study. But he built a racetrack for cockroaches, an Olympic stadium, a mini one with stands and shit. And if the stands, and he'd measure the amount of time it took from the cockroach to run from one end to I think a bit of food at the other end. So these cockroaches would be sprinting towards it. He'd open up a gate at the Grand National, and there'd be cockroaches going through it. And
there's just loads of people betting on.
Betting on cockroach racing. That sounds
funny.
I'd
want to bet more on cockroach
racing. Underground cockroach racing. Yeah. But But yeah, so whenever the cockroaches were racing on their own, they raced a certain amount of time. I've forgotten what the average time was. But if their like cockroach stadiums were full of cockroach spectators, then they'd race faster.
Shit.
They'd go way faster.
Maybe there's just a couple so there was one of them a couple of his side pieces were there, so he was just like, oh, I've got to try hard for them.
He sees his like his bitches in the crowd, and he's
exactly.
like, I got it. It's like that just makes me think of the two the cars in Cars. The two like Beatles or some shit.
Oh wait, the Beatles.
No, the two that are his fans.
Oh yeah.
Red ones.
We love you, Lightning.
Yeah. And then they flash him.
Yeah. Classic.
That's just what that makes me think of. But I think it's just there's funny stuff that's gone on throughout the years. My favorite study ever, though, it just has to take the cake, was a guy called James Pennebeck. No, it wasn't him. That's a different study. In the 1950s, I think it was 1960s, when the CIA were obsessed with LSD.
Okay.
They
when you say obsessed, like
they were obsessed with administering LSD to people in quite illegal studies. Like there was one instance where it was a CIA funded lab where they would just take people who thought they were insane and then just give them insane amounts of LSD, not for their own will.
Yeah.
Like there was one pregnant woman who was like taken into this facility and then given loads and loads of LSD to try and cure like her morning sickness or something.
Why would you test drugs
or they'd say it was for like curing morning sickness, and it was just like because the CIA wanted to know if LSD could brainwash people. That was it.
Oh.
They wanted to see if the LSD had brainwashing potential, and what they could do with that. So that's CIA for you.
God.
But are you giving in?
I'm giving in. Continue the story, but for any of the audio listeners, it is very hot in that, and I've just taken it off.
God, I'm not a fan of that. But,
it was
let me just my hair looks shit anyways. But so that's some of the stuff that happened with LSD. But one sort of suspectedly CIA funded project. I don't know if it was like it's not officially like yes, this was definitely funded by the CIA. But considering it was an LSD study in the 50s and the money came from somewhere undisclosed, it was the CIA.
Right.
And they administered LSD to an elephant at the San Diego Zoo called Tusco.
Okay.
And what they wanted to do is they wanted to see if LSD could administer something. I think it's called must. I think I'll call it must. I don't know the exact pronunciation. If I say musk, it just makes me sound like
was this a type of acid?
A lisp. No, LSD is just acid is acid. It's just LSD. But it shows how many drugs we do.
Yeah, but, God, we are avid drug doers.
Yeah, avid drug men.
Yeah.
But musk is basically male elephants go through pretty much all of puberty. Like they do all of their hormonal development as 14-year-olds in about 2 months. Like we think of puberty, we go through it over quite a few years.
Yeah.
They do it all in about 2 months. Their eyes turn orange, like they look like Sith Lords, and they start secreting this weird black goo from their face.
Okay.
And they become insanely aggressive and insanely horny.
Okay.
It's about a 14-year-old elephant, and it will just like if you go near an elephant during musk, like you just die. Like you will die.
Yeah.
But
how big are elephants at that age? You say 14?
They're not. I don't know if they're fully grown. I think they're definitely mostly grown.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Like they're not small elephants.
God, yeah,
but,
you would be.
But yeah, so what they wanted to do is they wanted to see if LSD had the ability to trigger musk in elephants,
right?
Because then that might mean it has the ability to sort of trigger different states in people. But they wanted to make sure, because the elephants, they're bigger than humans. So they wanted to make sure that they would do it. So they didn't want to use too little LSD, because you definitely want to use too little LSD.
No, you can never have enough.
Never have enough. Yeah, no, there can't be too much. For a human to have a trip for about 6 to 12 hours, you need about 25 micrograms.
Right.
Not that much LSD. Very, very, very small. That's like 1/1000th of a paracetamol tablet's worth of LSD.
Okay.
That's how strong of a chemical it is. But they gave Tusco 260 milligrams, which is about the size of a paracetamol tablet. Elephants don't weigh that proportionally much more than they don't weigh 20,000 times more, like than a human. But we gave Tusco that much more LSD, and so they administered it via a tranquilizer dart, so like a dart just basically with that dose of LSD in it, and it sent him into a frenzy. He started running around just like breaking shit. They thought he was going to die. So they tried injecting a barbiturate into him, which is a really, really sort of like punchy, really, really visceral anti-anxiety medication. And that sent him to sleep. But that also caused his the lining of his lungs to expand the same way an asthma attack would.
Right.
And it killed him.
God,
it killed the poor elephant.
So we don't even know if he would have survived without that.
It's likely that, to be fair, that he would have survived his trip.
Right.
Like he might have been okay.
Yeah.
Might have.
Just let the homie ride it out, Just let
he would have
ride it out.
He would have been on a different plane of existence for a solid month, I reckon. Like that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But he would have probably tripped for like a month. But or probably quite a while at least.
Right.
So this poor elephant just got like fully fucked over. But they thought that it was the acid that killed him, but it turned out it was the barbiturate that they injected afterwards to try and calm him down that fucked him over. But it just really, really cracked me up, this poor elephant. And that's what the CIA used to do in the 50s and probably till the 70s at least. They would just actually probably the 80s. Let's be realistic, CIA, they'll do whatever the fuck they want. I don't know if you've seen the film Sicario before.
No.
Brilliant. It's such a good film, man.
Okay.
Such a good film. But it's about the CIA achieving Sicario, which is the idea that one drug cartel should control below Mexico because then it's easier for America to manage.
Yeah.
So they literally it's about the CIA working with the Colombian cartel to destroy the Mexican cartel, but they get these two normal feds involved because the CIA can't operate under. I think it's a law that the CIA can't operate on on foreign soil without some due jurisdiction or some
mad thing to make the narrative.
So they fuck over these two police officers to sort of sign and say, yeah, we did everything by the book, even though the CIA do not do everything by the book in this film. But it just sort of points out how fucked of a establishment the CIA are. And just for me saying that and that going on the internet, I will probably have.
You might not be here next week.
I will be found dead under suspicious suicide circumstances.
Yeah.
And the handwriting on my death note will not be suicide note will not be my own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe get we know now, guys, if we goes missing, we'll be looking out for you. But if the FBI want you dead, you're already dead.
Yeah.
Really.
Am I okay to... Sorry, I just really want to
crack it open.
I want to really crack it open, right next to the microphone, just so
crack it open.
Welcome to
Go on, get a little ASMR.
Yeah, that's what I kind of want to
do.
Go on,
yeah, sure. Go ahead,
sort
man.
of
Make this your...
I'm fully going for it,
Yeah, you might get an ASMR career after this. Yeah.
I might.
Yo, I really want to see Joe's ASMR again, How you?
I wonder
you
how
like
that
this?
was.
You like this stuff? We're drinking
know,
grape and apple natural energy
with ginseng. Oh my god!
You know we're on about the ingredients.
This
before.
is such a Tory drink. Hang on, yeah.
The ingredients before. This is an apple and grape energy drink. It looks okay, but it probably isn't good for us.
One of my favorites is when something just says natural flavorings as an ingredient in the
How
list.
can they do that?
It's
that could mean anything.
You know that when people say Coca-Cola has natural flavorings on it, that's how they get away with saying caffeine's in this. They just split caffeine, they have to say including caffeine because caffeine is just natural flavor. So I reckon it's just caffeine.
so we've talked a bit about well, a lot of how the brain works for us Homo sapiens, humans, and we've also talked a bit about animals. I maybe want to go into maybe sometimes some stories you've recently had, because it would just be a really funny contrast. We've been talking about, some very interesting stuff.
Oh, how I've been stupid.
Yeah, so someone who knows a lot about the brain, but has maybe not been too brain smart recently. Because
because I am at university, so God, I sound so wanky saying like, yes, I'm at university.
I study.
No, I'm at uni. I get pissed and it goes poorly. Like that's what happens, you know. I feel like I've like tried speaking like really, really formal so far.
Right.
Just like, oh yes, and I go to university and I speak with big words and clear. Like, no, I'm a wanker. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's sort of two that spring to mind. I'll go in like order because I don't know if you were there for this night.
I don't think I was.
It was in Manchester. So when I first came up, and we did the room crawl the first night in Ollie's flat. That was really fun, and you were there for that. But the next night it was my first ever flat party.
Okay.
First ever one, and it was actually I don't know if you were there if it was that night. It might have been after. Can't remember, but so I was consuming a violent amount of dark rum. This is why I don't drink dark rum anymore. You know, people have like nights where they're like, "Oh, that's ruined that drink for me." This is the only one of them I can really point to.
And it's stuck. And it's stuck now. You still haven't drank it.
Like when I tried Ollie's drink last night. Yeah. To sort of check whether it was like dark rum or the one that I had because they looked pretty similar. I tried Ollie's. It was dark rum, and it just made me go a little bit. It just made me wince because I can just taste. I can only taste that night now, but basically,
it brings you back.
Basically, what happened? I consumed a violent amount of dark rum at this house party, and this flat party in Maple Court. So what a halls that is, you know. Yeah. It is literally a prison, and I'm not shitting on anyone who lived there, but it's a fucking prison.
Yeah.
It honestly
it's like a uni accommodation.
I visited Auschwitz in 2019. I'd rather have lived in one of them huts. I'm not even
maybe a bit hyperbolic, but we get the point.
Yeah. But I'll preface it with, yes, that was hyperbole. I wouldn't actually have rather lived in Auschwitz.
Well, we don't know, man.
Yeah,
we've only been listening to you for an hour or so.
Yeah, but I was really like, I was pretty drunk. I was pretty drunk, but I was like, I can ride this out. I can be okay. I just need some water. So I grabbed a glass from the cupboard in this party. Don't know how I managed to do that. Like, first cupboard I opened, I was like, oh, glass.
Just a random house as well.
I just started filling it up. I filled it up with tap water. Had one of them. I was like stood next to the sink. The sink was full of washing up, and I was like just like trying to like edge the glass underneath it to fill it up. I got like probably 3 glasses of water in me. Put it down on the side, and I was like, okay, I'm fine. I'll just go back to whatever. And I think I went to the toilet. Came back. Just started drinking my water, and because my mouth was so numb, like from the alcohol, I couldn't really taste much of a difference. But I could tell that something was different.
Oh, really?
I was like, this tastes a little bit, you know, like Diet Coke and Coke. There's like a little difference. But I was just like, oh, it's water. It's fine. It's just my numb mouth. And I swung it back, got to get the final bit of water out. And something hit my lip. I was like, what the fuck's this? And I put it down, and there was 3 cigarette butts in the end of the glass. I'd just been drinking like ash for the past few minutes, and I just looked at myself and I was like,
was it just too dark of a place? You just didn't see?
Well, it was dark. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't expecting my water to have been spiked with tobacco. You know what I mean? So I inhaled that, and I was like, yeah, gonna be sick. And I
do you think it's more the thought that you did that, or the actual?
I think it was both. Drinking ash, you know, people have chewing tobacco and they swallow it. That makes them sick. So I don't know if it was something it was just not. Yeah, no, that's not fun. Drinking ash. So I went to toilet, threw up in that.
Yeah.
Thought I was fine. I was like, yeah, I'm sorted. I'm easy me. And so I went to toilet. Sick there.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay, I'm fine. Walked out the bathroom. Ollie was there, and he was like, Joe, have you been sick? And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, and then he said, Joe, you're going to be sick again. And I was like, yeah. So I literally, somebody was in the toilet by that point. I was like, they'd queued up and they'd gone in after me. And I was like, fuck. So I ran down outside to just be sick outside. I was sick on the floor. And then I was like, oh, I can't just be throwing up on the floor in my head. And there was a big, like, huge industrial bin next to me. So I just pulled that up, started throwing up in that. Like, I must have thrown up about 6 or 7 times. Started throwing up in that. And I was like, okay, I'm fine. And then I just sort of, like, got really dozy and sort of, like, put my head on the, just got my head on the, like, rim of the bin. And it's like a really big, turned out it was a recycling bin. So I've just thrown up on a load of like broken glass.
The bin men aren't gonna be happy about that.
They probably weren't. And then the bin lid sort of fell down onto the back of my head, and I was sick again. And then Ollie took me to bed, bless him. And this was at 11:30.
Oh, that's just not that late.
This was not that late. I just gone way too hard at prees, and I just grinned it.
You just didn't pace it.
There's a couple of other instances as well. There was a one in, funny enough, our hometown Beverley, in a fire pit. Me, Ollie, his girlfriend Millie, and Isaac got really, 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 really drunk on one of Ollie's pub golfs. We did the final 3 drinks in the space of about 20 minutes.
Right.
Not a good idea. I can't remember anything from fire pit. I can hardly remember anything. So I've literally got amnesia of that night. Not even kidding. So yeah, completely lost that, and all I remember is everything going black, waking up a little bit on the toilet seat in fire pit. Don't know how I got to the toilet. I just woke up on the toilet seat to Ollie like poking me, because I'd been sick in the toilet. I'd somehow made it to the toilet, thrown up, and then just fallen asleep on the rim.
Yeah, but you don't remember being sick.
I don't remember being sick.
You literally like spawned in.
I just remember sort of like spawning in, being like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
God.
Ollie poking me on the shoulder, he sort of grabbed me and like took me out. I was like walking like Jack Sparrow. I was like fucking like going for it. Nick, Ollie's dad, sort of like puts me in his car. He drives me and Ollie back to mine. Ollie was really pissed. He was sick later. And like my mum sort of like grabs me, sort of like takes me to bed. Apparently I got like second wind and just started telling like a load of jokes, like I was Peter Kay or some shit.
You just start like doing an open set to your parents.
Apparently, I just started doing this really shit open set.
Yeah. Did you start off with like, what's the deal with aeroplane food? I feel like
I kid you not. I think I looked. That was it. I kid you not. I looked my mum dead in the eye at one point. I remember this now. And literally just said, "What's the deal with airline food?" And then just started laughing.
I feel like that's where my brain goes as well. If I had to knock out a joke,
but turned out, my phone had fallen out of my pocket while I was throwing up in fire pit. So my mum, bless her, drove back to fire pit and was like, "Do you have that really drunk guy's phone?" And he was like, apparently the guy was like, "Yeah, here you go." Yeah, and so that was in fire pit in Beverley. What about you? What's your like sort of drunk mishap?
So the last time I've actually been sick was on my 18th, and that sounds mad because the last time I was sick was on my 18th, and it was my birthday party. We had a house party, and we were all getting drinks. My family were handing around drinks at my house. I was drinking all the way through the night. I was like, what the fuck? I'm so much more drunk than everybody. So I keep drinking, and I'm like, what the fuck? Everyone else seems like they were drunk, but I was like,
even Ollie.
Yeah,
really?
Okay, maybe he was an outlier.
He wasn't. No,
I keep drinking, and then I carry on. I was sick in the bath. Well, I was in like the toilet for half an hour. I was sick, and I wake up, and it turns out my brother was pouring triples and quadruples for me, and then for everyone else they were just pouring normal drinks. Which nice then, but I was literally, It was a good night,
ruined.
I think it takes a lot for me to be like sick. I think that's because I know my limits.
Yeah.
But that's probably the last time I've been like fully sick, and it was just mental.
new woman.
Talking shit
From
from
Colorado.
She
You've been in. Be gone by tomorrow. Who am I kidding? All this jealousy and agony that I'm spitting.
I'm a jealous boy. I really feel like John Lennon. I just want
to
real
feel
love.
love.
I just wanted real love when I was a teenager. You know, and I would say like during my sixth form and stuff, I was like a sad, but not a sad. Well, I think I had a couple bad experiences with girls, and I was just like, not. Yeah, I think I was just kind of. I'm not gonna be able to find anyone.
Sad boy Eddie hours.
Yeah, I would say, and I still do listen to the same music.
Yeah,
it's mad.
It's the same. There's literally there's a Juice WRLD poster above his bed there.
Yeah,
there was something Juice WRLD around that. I think it's the same image.
Yes,
the same
yes.
cover of Goodbye and Good Riddance.
Yes,
it's like in 3 different places in this room. It's so surreal. I feel like it's like a Juice WRLD fucking like shrine in the corner.
I in an alternate reality, I could be into country and stuff.
But you know,
that's it. Yeah.
But,
so
they're no, you go.
I was just gonna introduce it. Say like, how were you with that? Like, what was your experience? I think so. So basically, from like 14 to like maybe 18, maybe even a bit of 19.
Probably like 20. Realistically,
probably like
for
just
me.
Now.
Like until probably like 3 months ago, I was pretty hopeless. Yeah, it's really, really interesting when you think about sort of how you were in a romantic situation, like when you were 17. But I was a dumbass. There are viewers and you who can testify how dumb I was and how I don't know. You just act like a fucking idiot because for me, I was just so unnervingly nervous for stuff to happen or to not happen. Like you just overthink it as a teenager, I think. And it's one of the worst things you can do because take for instance sex, it becomes something that you just think about like all the time, and it just it guides everything you're thinking about, and it takes over your head. And for me that was just like not particularly beneficial because you see like your mates start to have sex. Like Ollie's got a girlfriend and started having sex, and it was kind of, and I just felt like, oh, I'm still virgin little me, and it felt kind of bad. But there was a couple of, and I wish I'd read these earlier, funny enough, studies is where I seem to find a lot of my solidarity or a lot of my consolidation. I can sort of get consoled by studies sometimes because they give you results to make you go, oh, that it's easy then, you know, or oh, I just do this. Sort of figuring out how to be human from science, you know.
Instead of just being human, you have to read.
Being human,
you have to read the manual.
I've got to read and figure it out. Maybe that's a discussion in itself that could last a good few hours and would probably need a licensed therapist in the room to do it properly. But like there was 2 studies, one by a guy called James Pennebaker, and the follow-up study to this by another guy whose name I can't remember. I think his name was Clark, maybe Russell Clark, maybe I can't remember his name. Might be Clark, but and the follow-up study for this really gave me consolidation. But Pennebaker was there's a country song, funny enough that you mentioned country, called "Do All the Girls Get Prettier at Closing Time?" or "Don't the Girls Get Prettier at Closing Time?" And Pennebaker thought, oh, do they actually? Like,
what do you mean by closing time?
Like closing time of the bar.
Oh,
like, as the bar gets close to closing time, the girls start to look prettier. And he found out that they do. He went into 3 different bars, and he did this a few times with his undergrads. And they go in and ask sort of like lonely patrons as to who is the most attractive, sort of like around. And he found like a really, really significant and fairly powerful effect size as he went in at 10 o'clock, 11:30, and then 12, I think, or 1, because bars for some reason close like really early in the US. Like they don't close at like 4 here. So I think that was really close to closing time. I think it was 9, 10:30, and 11:30 maybe. But as it got close to closing time, the ratings went up for people. The only reason why some people would not rate that highly would be, say, if they already had a partner. Yeah, they would rate people lower and just rate them the same maybe throughout the night. Or if you were asking, for example, a straight man to rate another straight man. This was in the 70s, so people would be way less inclined to say, "Oh, he's more attractive," that sort of thing. But the follow-up study, so girls do get prettier at closing time. So that's one effect that was shown. But one thing I wish I'd known as a teenager was the follow-up to this, which was done by, I think his name was Russell Clark. I can't fully remember, but he showed that he was showing the study, Pennebaker's study, to a group of his undergrads, and he made this sort of like off-quip comment that, oh yeah, guys are the only ones that really need to worry about like pickup lines and that sort of thing, because girls can just snap their fingers and guys come running. And a lot of his female students sort of like detested that, and they were like, oh, no, I don't think it works that way. And what he did, so he had he took some of his female students who were pretty attractive and some of his male students who were also pretty like physically attractive. This is in 79, I think. And he had them go out to random people on campus and literally go up to them and say, "Hi, my dorm's free tonight. Do you want to shag me?" Like literally, do you want to come back to my dorm? And
if it was in America, they would probably not say shag, but
But that was literally what, But that is literally what they would go up to people and say. And the girls who got asked by the guys, 100% of them say no. So guys going up to a girl on a university campus saying, "You want some?" He would say no, nothing. Whereas girls who were asking the guys, just random guys on campus, 75% said yeah. Girl they've met, they've seen, they've only seen that she exists for about 15 seconds. And I think what she said when she came over is she'd say, "Hi, I've seen you around campus a bit recently, and I think you're really hot. Do you want to come back to mine tonight?" 75% would say yes, and the ones that would say no, they'd always give excuses like, "Oh, sorry, I have a girlfriend. Sorry, I'm married. Sorry, I'm out. I'm busy." Like that sort of stuff. They'd always apologize.
Like it's
whereas
something you need to apologize
the girls would always be like, "Get away, weirdo."
Yeah.
So obviously, sort of, that's not going to work when picking up someone is saying, "Hi, shag me."
Yeah.
But
it does work on guys.
As a guy, that would not work. As a girl, that works.
Yeah.
But or works a bit more. But again, that's in the 70s, so times might have changed a fair bit. So there's a time difference and a culture difference. It's the States and here. So I don't obviously take everything with a pinch of salt, you know?
Yeah.
But
there's now just going to be girls out there that go, "What the fuck?" I can just ask her.
But the bit that gave me sort of consolidation was if they changed the statement from "Hi, do you want to shag me tonight?" would be, "Hi, do you want to go for a drink later or for a drink tonight?" It was 50-50 split for men and women. Both men and women 50% would say yes and 50% would say no.
Wow.
So more guys would be more willing to shag someone than go on a date. That just shows how shallow guys can be. There's a 25% discrepancy there. So how shallow can guys be if all they want is just a shag, you know? And there's less likely to go for a drink, but more likely to go for immediate sex. That just shows how like weird guys are. But it's also this is sort of where it was consolidating for me, or consoling for me, not consolidating. Was the fact that I didn't have to deep asking someone out. 50% of the time they're going to say yes, you know, like just based on that study's results, you know. So that, again, that's take with a pinch of salt. But 50% of the time they say yes. So if you're wondering whether you should ask her out, do it. Like 50% chance she says yes. It's a coin flip, you know. That's way better odds than I'm sure that you're thinking of right now. So just ask them out and they'll say yes, whether you're a guy or a girl, and there's a 50% chance, and I'm sure they like you back.
Yeah. And I think as well, you've got other stuff going on in your life as well, like that. If you're thinking, do I need to ask her out or not ask her out, like you that I didn't know that statistic. That is insane. 50-50, and that would, I hope, give some guys or girls confidence in approaching people.
Yeah, I know.
Because well, no, I think I knew that when I was in my like teen years. Like, I know all they can say is no, but it's that especially in colleges and that.
Yeah.
It's that group environment of embarrassment when other people know you have been rejected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and that comes, I know that's going off on a tangent from what we initially said, but I think that can play in teenagers' mind, their whole, like, how people perceive me. And that sometimes people put that above finding out if the person I love loves me back.
Yeah, I know, or whether they like you back. It's just weird. You know what I mean? Like, human beings, we're just so strange. We're just so weird, and we just do weird shit all the time. We sort of skirt around the point out of fear of fucking it up. I think that's the thing that teenagers do the most.
And we're very English in the fact that we say sorry for everything, so we're constantly doubting ourselves. So yeah, we're definitely coming from experience. Mate, like, would you say that has helped you now, like, with how you approach, like, of course you've got a girlfriend now.
I think the reason, I kid you not, I thought of that statistic just before I asked her out. I thought 50% chance says yes, 50% chance says no. And we got on the night we met, so I was like, fuck it, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was it was pretty fun in that aspect of, like, yeah, I can give it a go. And I'd asked out a few people beforehand and got rejected. I think a couple of people, like, in like the months beforehand. Once I'd read that statistic, I sort of grew some balls and was able to ask out a couple of people. And even if they said no, I was like, that's literally the worst that could happen. They literally just said no, and I was like, I'm chill with it. And then I met her, and she said yes, and now we're together, and it's brilliant. So that statistic worked for me. If it works for you, go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. I think it's very inspirational, mate. You know,
yeah,
you've probably told that one guy, one girl, and there probably is someone who has now asked and who has got rejected, and they will be going, mate, you told me the wrong thing there. But 50-50 is not bad.
Maybe.
It's worth the chance. Worth the chance for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating. I really want to have you on again, mate, to maybe delve deeper into that whole thing of man, woman.
Yeah, you know,
yeah,
because that's appropriate. If it's two of the two straight white men, we can discuss. We know everything about how relationships work as straight white men. We know absolutely everything.
Definitely
trust us and nobody else.
Yeah, no. Well, I think with studies and stuff, you involve studies. We can go off that, but yeah, we're still. We don't know. In 5 years, we might be in a completely different situation. And I think I was in the car with you on the Uber to the pub last night, and I was just telling you about my life, and he was like, Eddie, I'm also like the same age as you. I don't know the answers to this.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's one of the reasons I like this podcast is I'll kind of like get to see myself grow up.
Yeah, this could be like a little time capsule.
Yeah, and that
Ed Squared.
Exactly. So, definitely with whatever we've talked about today, take it with a grain of salt. I feel like this is one of the main episodes where I do have to preface that because, of course, it's definitely more of the educational episode.
We're an education podcast
I'm definitely
now.
Well, whenever this guy's on, I just want to ask you questions, mate, and learn about the brain because I use it every day.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Do you think there is any benefit of what we have talked about today and like knowing why we do things as humans and how it can benefit us in our lives?
Oh no, not all. No.
So your degree is completely pointless.
Completely. No, there is a benefit in knowing obviously how you behave. I don't know in the sense of what we've talked about today, because we've talked a little bit about like knowing that cockroaches race each other better when they're viewed. It's kind of like, it sort of lets you know, like, say that could be applied to like a musician going on stage, like say like your housemate's a musician. It might be useful for him to know that, I haven't practiced this that much, I might be a little bit worse at it, I should probably rehearse a bit more and get good at it so I get really, really good at it when I'm on stage. Maybe that's something to bear in mind. And cool if you found that out from cockroaches, but find it out your own way. You know, I think that's probably the best thing that I've figured out, is whatever way works for you is the best way to learn or to figure out who you are. This is, but I know it sounds like so wanky saying that.
Yeah.
I'm 20. I know jack shit.
Yeah.
I don't know myself that well. I think other people know me before I know myself when I meet them. So again, it's it's pointless me saying, "Oh, here's how you find yourself," if whatever that even means, like there's not. I'm trying to think of a good way of wording it. If you give me a second.
Yeah, sure, man. Go ahead.
Figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing I could say is, if other people tell you this is how you should figure yourself out, don't stop listening to them, because maybe it's useful to hear some of the stuff they're saying. Like, that could apply to me. That could apply to me. That's resonated with me. I'll take a little bit of that. But don't just have Andrew Tate tell you exactly, this is how you should live your life. If you are depressed, pick up heavy object and put it down. Yeah. Testosterone, take ashwagandha and stimulants and make me feel good. That make me not depressed. Unga bunga. Like no, that might not work for you. You might be a dude, and that might not work for you. You might be a girl, that might not work for you. Probably doesn't work for you. Like, I think figure it out yourself,
And I think a lot of those gurus and those people talking like that is very much targeted to people who maybe need to hear that because they're not in the best place right now, and hearing obvious things, things that maybe the average person knows. I'm not saying that those people don't know that, but some people that resonates with them. But I get what you mean. You can definitely, in this age where you're on social media, that can be where most people are getting their knowledge from. Yeah, and you can just follow that.
Yeah, my fear is that, like, I think a load of people get led astray. Like, they hear one tiny little bit from somebody on the internet and it resonates with them, and they're like, oh, that's sick. And then they just take every single word that they say as gospel. And even when they say some stupid shit, because everybody says stupid shit, they will take that as gospel as well. Like, people backtrack on statements all the time or change their opinions all the time because they've had the chance to think about it more. But I don't agree with it. Just really rubs me the wrong way when people try selling those opinions to people as gospel. It sounds so weird. It's like, I'm selling you my opinions and you will like it. And that's what Andrew Tate does with his fucking Hustlers University. And as much as some of the time he says good stuff, some of the time he says bad stuff, Jordan Peterson does that with his courses, and he releases like I swear, Jordan Peterson goes through a thesaurus, looks at his old book, translates it with a thesaurus, and then sells it again as some new course, as some new something else.
Right.
And it just makes me go like, it's like, yeah, I get it. These are people who need to hear obvious stuff. But just say the obvious thing once, concisely and clearly, and then move on,
Some people are idiots, though.
Yeah, true.
And there's a market for it, and money's involved. Yeah, man. It's kind of. I think having you on has kind of made me not self-aware, but just maybe like think more about how I think. And no, it's definitely been really fun having you on, mate. Is there anything before we finish up that you want to like plug, or anything you want to make the people aware of?
I like to thank my family.
Yeah.
And
you made it to the big stage.
My girlfriend and my loved ones and Ed Squared and just everybody. They've been brilliant.
Yeah.
I have peaked. I am on the Ed Squared podcast.
Doesn't get better than this, boy.
I feel so Ed Squared right now. I'm so definitely hungover. That's definitely the feeling I have right now. And my eyes are probably really, really dark
beautiful.
Right now.
They are beautiful.
So thanks, man.
Man.
That's it. I just feel really Ed Squared, and I'd like the world to know it.
That's cool, man. Now, thank you very much for coming on, mate. This has been Eddie Dodds and Joe Mason. Episode 12. We are available on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. YouTube clips are being put out once or twice a week, so check them out. All the links will be in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. But yeah, I'm trying to be as consistent with this, and let me guys know your feedback, like what you want me to do, anything you want to change. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on, mate.
You fucked it up at the end.
Did I?
Yeah.
How?
Let me guys know your feedback.
Oh, fuck. Well,
Yeah.
let me know how to speak.
Ha ha ha.
I was going smooth there. I was
Yeah.
That was probably the best I was doing.
I shouldn't have said anything and had you just like crying during
in
the
post,
editing.
yeah. No, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.